Good morning. Mike, did Jalen Waddle miss practice yesterday because of an injury, and is he back today?
He just didn't feel like it. No, yeah, no, that was fun. It was a cool process with Jalen. You learn more about your players all the time. There's something that that I don't really need to get into, but that he could have practiced with our elite medical staff having history with stuff. We were trying to be preventative. He wanted to practice. We disallowed it to try to be in front of something. But I expect him to practice here again in training camp. We'll take it day by day, but we're just trying to, sometimes you have to protect people from themselves, and that's a great problem to have, especially with an elite talent like that.
These fast twitch guys, the soft tissue stuff sometimes in camp can linger on throughout the season. Is that a new point of emphasis for this medical?
Oh, definitely, especially because their head coach was, in that same category. He was so fast twitch and explosive, he can relate. So he's pretty good at talking in third person and preventing fast twitch soft tissue injuries. No, it's something that you learn over time. That I think one of the things that is really cool about the Miami Dolphins and the medical staff and Dave Pembroke and the strength staff is they aren't science minors, they're science majors. So we take all that stuff in consideration, and we try to be as accountable as possible in preventing as many soft tissues as you can. You'll never be 100%, but you try to pay attention to each individual player and tailor things so that they can avoid those things as best possible.
Could you assess what you saw from Tua yesterday? Most interceptions we see him throw in camp. We know there was some context situation back. What do you want to see from him today?
Well, that's interesting. Maybe just the bad news bears or something. No, yesterday was a classic example of the conflict, at least for me emotionally as a head coach, because, and I was very clear with this with the team. I was very pumped with how the offense, and in particular Tua, came out in practice, and I let it known early and often to the defense that I didn't think that they were performing to the standard. I think it was probably the most successful red zone period that we've had, certainly being here, offensively versus the defense. But after kind of bringing that to the defense's attention, we got into some situational periods, and man, did they answer the bell. And in those periods, we turned the ball over way too much, which was a great learning lesson for Tua. We hadn't been in a couple of those situations yet, and so we got to talk about it and learn from it. So overall, I had half the practice that I was pumped at the offense, half the practice that I was pumped at the defense, simultaneously being mad at the other side of the ball. So all of which, is either a blip on the radar or something that is some of the best stuff that can happen to you. So especially in the practice field, you try to have players put themselves in scenarios as close to a game as possible and let it rip and play what they see, and then you reevaluate it, or you coach them up on it, and then the next day you want to see improvement. And the next time we're in those situations in practice, I want to see improvement. In games, I'm expecting improvement with the offense, and hopefully the defense is able to reproduce that same production against an opponent. But it's almost like it makes you, as a head coach, you just feel completely bipolar at times. You're like, I'm happy and I'm sad.
How many situations are there where you're simultaneously happy with both sides of the ball?
When effort, intent, assignment, and technique are good, which does happen, that generally it's somebody wins a down. I really like the periods that within the period are back and forth. That's when I'm simultaneously happy because, you're going. Every play doesn't work on both sides of the ball, ever. So, when going through that process of saying, "Wow, that was a 7-yard run play we just gave up as a defense. It's 2nd and 3. Okay, now it's a 2-yard loss. Now it's 3rd and 5, and then you have a perfectly executed defensive structure versus an offensive structure, and maybe the offense, maybe Tua throws a perfect throw, and it's a very contested but good completion, or it's a perfect throw and a DB makes a great play. Those are my favorite periods within the team because you don't want to see complete domination by either side. So it's an interesting when you've practiced together for about a month and then you have all the OTAs and stuff. You're looking for parity because our team needs both sides of the ball to be as good as they can be.
Where are you in the return game right now with Lynn having a nice night on Saturday? How is that shaking out the race for returning?
Oh, this is one of the. If you're return enthusiast, this is a cool moment in time for the Miami Dolphins, just because there's competition there. We have a lot of dynamic playmakers, so we're afforded the option of really being able to mix it up and have people really compete. And right now it's after one game. I think nothing is settled, but guys are starting to get more comfortable with the returns, and it's like everything else, man. The competition really is where the cream rises to the top. So it's a fun thing to watch. I by no means shortchange the process ever, especially with situations where there's high competition like that. And we're going to continue to give guys opportunities to see, because again, I'm always looking, and I have to do it with the players all the time. I'm not bottom line oriented as a coach, because it's not, there's too many compounding variables for success or failure. What I'm looking at is like, okay, well, here's what you did well. Cool. Can we count on that? Here's where you did poorly. Do you improve on that? Because the name of the game is not being really your best necessarily in September. It's about January. That's what you're building towards, and that's the mindset I'm trying to really infuse to the team.
Do you need to settle in on one returner? I know you said you're not in absolutes, but you could use Waddle and Tyreek, but you're not going to use them full time. Do you need to find one guy that fills that role?
I don't think you need to. I think you can. I think that's something when that happens a lot. If you have a player that has an exclusive skill set that doesn't really fit into offense and defense, or you only have one guy that you're really confident in. So no, I don't think you have to by any stretch. I think that's a competitive advantage to give different people opportunities, because it shows the opposing team they get a different feel, and it also creates a little urgency from each returner, because I want to get another one.
Mike, you spoke about the bigger picture of, not September, but January. I guess since your time taking over as coach to now, how do you like where your team is at this point, and what are some things you really like about how the team has grown since you got here?
One of my favorite parts is that, like, I'm a pretty positive guy, and I like to bring energy. But there's been opportunities that I've had along the way to kind of like point out and nip in the butt that is not good enough. whatever that is on either side of the ball or special teams or anywhere that I've really applied that pressure, like 100% of the time people have responded. And I think that is the life you live, that is the life of everyone, that is football. The nuts and bolts of it is really handling all the noise, being able to accept constructive stuff, and then getting better from it. So that's my favorite part. I'm pretty happy with where we're at for approaching the second preseason game. I'm pretty happy, and that will I be happy during the season? Well, that's contingent upon what happens now. You could have the greatest off season and beginning of training camp in the history of football, and if you shut it down for a couple weeks, all of that's meaningless. So I feel very confident. They're earning my confidence by the way they respond. So I'm happy really about where we're at and where we're going, feeling confident that we'll take the right steps to be ready to play New England week 1.
Do you have to, I mean, it's a bad word to use, but yell? I mean, do you have to, at times, do you have to get in front of your team and chew them out? Is that something?
I mean, I try not to major in it. It's kind of philosophically, like I don't enjoy yelling, but you have to do what you have to do to let them know exactly the urgency of the moment. But I've always philosophically thought that, like, if you pick and choose those moments, then that state that you don't really like to be in, it is purposeful. I just know from my personal experience, at some point in time, if you're just yelled at consistently all the time, then the yelling sounds like normal talking, and that's not the idea of it. I think it's important to build relationships and try to develop players as players and people, and but they also need to know the urgency. It's my job to let them know the urgency. So if it's I won't hesitate, nor have I hesitated. You could ask some of the players. I will have a temper from time to time, but I think they understand, because I value earning that, earning trust, and I don't think that I'm owed or entitled to anything. I think on a daily basis I have to really earn their investment. I think that they see where that's coming from, not as misguided emotion, but more as tangible, direct, convicted emotion that is all geared towards them being their best.
Mike, what are you most looking forward to for Saturday's game? It's your first home game at Hard Rock. What are you most looking forward to?
I don't know, the aqua seats. I'm just excited for, really, it's been such a cool process to, as I've explained before, I didn't really know the fan base. This is one of the 2 divisions I'd never coached in the league. So everything since I've been here, I've just been like, wow, this Miami Dolphins fan base is phenomenal. So just hearing the feedback, seeing the fans out in practice, I know there's going to be a lot of energy, and people are excited about seeing their players and their team. So I'm kind of, I guess I would say the thing I'm most excited about is that connection between, a fan base that really supports and is invested into the team, and team that really wants to do right by the fan base. That should be fun, and I look forward to that this weekend and the rest of the season.
Final question.
No announcements. No big announcements.
Are you setting me? Should I have an announcement?
Well, we're not going to say show Saturday.
I think tomorrow. There's a birthday tomorrow. I just read it. There's a player's birthday. I should announce that. I should announce that my wife went to the grocery store, which was exciting because I'm a big snack time guy. Outside of that, I would like to announce that I'm very excited for practice, as you guys should be, because it's an opportunity for both sides of the ball to respond to things that they weren't happy with the previous day.
I think maybe he was referring to like the rotation of players,
Oh!
starters, and
Still working through it. And again, as transparent as possible. I think I really, in an annoying manner, I don't like to shortchange individual practices. And I think that deciding everyone's playing time based upon where they're at for this team, for our young team, I think that doesn't do right or justice to the individual practices. So we'll be working through that and probably be about the same timeline that I'll know as it was last week, unfortunately. Hey, I mean, for me too, I want to know what I think. I really would love to know what I think, but I have to wait for all the information before I can think that I think I know the right answer.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.